thank all of you for being here this morning, and most importantly, not just being here, but having the courage to stand up for justice, to stand up for dignity. Let me also thank you for standing up for democracy and demanding a government that represents all of us, not just the 1%. And SEIU Local 1199 and Progress Ohio for sponsoring this event. And let me thank those who have already spoken. As Harry Truman said, we're just going to tell the truth. That's hell enough for that. That during his campaign for the presidency, Donald Trump told the people of Ohio, he told the people of Vermont, he told the people of this country that he was going to be the champion of the working class. That he, Donald Trump, was going to stand up for those who were in pain, for those who were struggling, and he was going to take on special interests. Well, I am sorry to have to tell you what you already know. He was not telling the truth. The so-called health care bill passed in the House last month, strongly supported by President Trump, is the most anti-working class legislation ever passed in the modern history of our country, and the Senate bill, in many respects, is even worse. At a time when families in Ohio, in Vermont, and throughout this country are struggling to keep their heads above water, they're struggling to put food on the table, to put a few bucks away for their kids' college education. At a time when so many people are hurting, this legislation will cause devastating pain to millions of American families. Now, we are gathered here this morning to make one simple point. And what we are saying, as loudly as we can, and I've heard you, you are pretty loud. What we are saying is that we will not allow 23 million Americans to be thrown off of the health insurance they currently have in order to give $500 billion in tax breaks to the wealthiest 2%, to the insurance companies, and to the drug companies. The truth is that this so-called health care bill is nothing more than a massive transfer of wealth from working families to the very, very rich. This bill calls for massive cuts to Medicaid, calls for seniors in Ohio and all over this country to be paying far, far more for their premiums, calls for the defunding of Planned Parenthood. At the same time, this legislation would allow the 400 highest income taxpayers, 400 people, most of them billionaires, to receive $33 billion in tax cuts. Now that is not what America is about. That's not what our moral values are about. We don't take from struggling working class families. We don't take from disabled children. We don't take from the elderly. We don't take from the sick in order to give huge tax breaks to billionaires. Let me say to my colleague, Rob Portman. Rob, this is an immoral piece of legislation. And I say to Senator Portman, join your fellow Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown. Join Sherrod Brown and please vote no on this horrific piece of legislation. If Senator Portman votes no, the strong likelihood is this bill will go down. And I say to Senator Portman, if you don't believe what I am saying about this legislation, listen to your own governor, John Kasich, a fellow Republican. Very long time. We served in the House together and we disagree on almost every issue. That would be no surprise to you. But on this issue, I must say that the governor is absolutely right when he said the other day, this is what Governor Kasich said, quote, I have deep concerns with the details of the U.S. Senate's plan to fix America's healthcare system and the resources needed to help our most vulnerable, including those who are dealing with drug addiction, mental illness, and chronic health problems, and have nowhere else to turn, end quote. Governor Kasich is right. Senator Portman, listen to me. By a two-vote margin, 2 votes, the House passed a disastrous bill, and the Senate bill, which is very similar, will come up likely for a vote this very week. And this is what the Republican House bill does. Let me just go through some of what it actually does. Today in America, we have 28 million people today, before the Republican bill, 28 million people have no health insurance at all. And millions more are underinsured with high deductibles and high co-payments, including many of you. And while 28 million people are uninsured, this bill will throw an additional 23 million people off of the health care they have, raising the total of uninsured in America to over 50 million people. This is literally beyond comprehension. It is unconscionable, and it must not be allowed to happen. It's no great secret that the Affordable Care Act is far from perfect. Our job now is to improve it, not destroy it. Our job is to lower deductibles, lower co-payments, lower premiums, not to throw 23 million people off of health insurance. This disastrous Republican proposal, our job, and we need all of your help to make this happen. Our job is to have the United States of America, our great nation, join every every other major country on earth. And guarantee health care to all people as a right. The wealthiest country in the history of the world, we look around us. I live 50 miles away from Canada. They manage to provide health care to all their people. Go to Germany, go to the UK, go to Scandinavia, go to France. Every major country understands that in a civilized society, health care must be a right for all people. Legislation is to take on the insurance companies who rip us off every day. To take on the drug companies who charge us the highest prices in the world for the medicine. And our job is to go forward and pass a Medicare for all single-payer plan. Today, in Ohio, in my state of Vermont, all over this country, there is enormous anxiety. Because people today on Medicaid, people today on health insurance, they are wondering what will happen to their lives, what will happen to their parents' lives, what will happen to their children if suddenly health care is taken away from them. What does it mean? I want you to think about it for a moment. Put yourself into somebody else's place. What does it mean today if you are struggling for your life, dealing with cancer, dealing with heart disease, dealing with diabetes, dealing with some other chronic illness that is threatening your existence? What does it mean when you read in the paper that Republicans may take away your health insurance? Now what happens to you when you cannot afford to go to a doctor? What happens if you are sick today, you're really sick, some chronic disease, and you cannot afford to go to the doctor or buy the medicine that you need? And the horrible, and we have to deal with it. I've been criticized for saying this, but I will say it again because it's important that we say it. I say this not for political reasons, not to be overly dramatic, but the facts are clear. It's not just me. It's the Harvard School of Public Health. It is doctors all over this country who study the issue. It is common sense. If you take away health care from 23 million people, many of whom are dealing with life-threatening diseases, what's going to happen? People will die by the thousands. And I say this with pain, with anxiety. Thousands. There are estimates that if 23 million Americans are thrown off of health care, that 28,000 people could die as a result of that. In the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we must not allow that to happen. What happens when you cut Medicaid, as the Republicans are proposing to do, by over $800 billion for a 10-year period? Well, think about it. What it means is if you are a child with a severe disability, you will no longer get the health care you need to adequately function. An estimated 11 million children, or 15% of all kids in the United States, have special health care needs. They may have conditions such as Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, or autism. They may have mental health care needs such as depression or anxiety or complications from premature birth. Today, Medicaid and CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program, cover 5 million kids, or 44% of those children, providing them with coverage, so that many of them can live with dignity and security. Medicaid is slashed, children with special health care needs could be left to fend for themselves. And I want you to think about it. Children who have serious health problems today could be forced to fend for themselves. Nearly 75% of kids with special health care needs live in low or middle income families. What happens to these kids and their families? And it's not only the children. Think about it. You have a kid with a severe disability who's now getting help from Medicaid, is now in school, doing well. They take that away, that kid comes home. How do you go to work? You don't. You're gonna have to stay home with your kid, which means less income is coming into an already struggling family. What happens to that entire family? Maybe my Republican colleagues might want to think about that for a moment. But it's not just children who will suffer if this bill is passed. It is senior citizens, the elderly. What every person in Ohio should understand is that Medicaid now pays for over 2/3 of all nursing home care. 2/3 of all nursing home care. If that is slashed, what happens to the seniors and the disabled who are currently in nursing homes? How many of them are simply going to be thrown out of those nursing homes? Where do they go? How many of them will then come back to their kids, their sons and their daughters who are already struggling economically, who may want to send their kids to college and will have to make the choice because of these cuts in Medicaid is whether or not they send their kids to college or they adequately take care of their parents. In the United States of America, we should not have to make those choices. But it is not just nursing home care that will be severely impacted. Remember, Medicaid pays 2/3 of Medicaid costs. But it's not just that. Today in Ohio, if you are an older worker, you're 62 years of age, and you make about $42,000 a year, your premiums are going to skyrocket. It's going to get much, much higher as a result of this disastrous legislation. Trump said he was going to stand up for working people, forcing older workers to pay almost double for their health care premiums is not standing up for the working class. But again, I say to Senator Portman and I say to all of you, it's not just Bernie Sanders' opinion. I want you to hear what the AARP, the largest senior group in America, says. This is what the AARP says, and I quote, "This new Senate bill was crafted in secrecy behind closed doors without a single hearing or open debate, and it shows. The Senate bill would hit millions of Americans with higher costs and result in less coverage for them. AARP is adamantly opposed to the age tax, which would allow insurance companies to charge older Americans 5 times more for coverage than everyone else, while reducing tax credits that help make insurance more affordable. As we did with all 435 members of the House, AARP will also hold all 100 senators accountable for their votes on this harmful bill. absolutely true is you got older workers, 60, 63, 64. Many of these older workers have almost no savings in the bank as they prepare for retirement. They got nothing. And now what Trump and the Republican leadership want to do is to almost double the premiums for them. That is not the way we treat people in this country. In this nation, 1.7 million veterans have health care coverage through Medicaid. In my view, when people have put their lives on the line to defend us, we have got to treat them with respect. And that means we do not take away Medicaid coverage for hundreds of thousands of veterans. Subject for a whole long discussion unto itself. You understand that from coast to coast, including my state of Vermont, we are facing a horrendous opioid epidemic. Every day people are dying, every day people are becoming addicted to painkillers, they're becoming addicted to heroin. Our job as a nation is to come up with a comprehensive plan of treatment and prevention to stop this epidemic which is taking lives every single day. Our job is not to cut Medicaid, which provides substantial treatment and benefits for people who are addicted. When you turn on the TV and you hear spokespeople from the Republican Party, they love to talk about choice. They're big into choice. They want you to have your choice of whatever insurance company you want, whatever school you want, whatever this you want, whatever the other. They're all for choice, except when it comes to women's health. Million women in this country who have chosen Planned Parenthood as where they want to get their health care, they may not have that choice. So I say to the President and the Republican leadership, if you believe in choice, let the women of this country make their own choices. The one proposed to the Senate would defund Planned Parenthood. Now, I receive a whole lot of letters from my son has Down syndrome. He can barely get by with what few Medicaid services are available now. Please don't punish my son for needing these services. End of quote. Another father writes, quote, Trump Care will allow insurance companies to deny health insurance to people with pre-existing conditions. In my family, this could disqualify my son, born with a defective heart valve, who must have costly open heart transplant surgery to get a new valve every 10 to 14 years. Another letter. Again, we get a zillion of these letters all over the time. Quote, I am 38. I am well educated and I had a great job, but I developed chronic migraine. I am so disabled I can no longer work. I just qualified for Medicaid. It will be my lifeline as I fight daily pain and other debilitating symptoms. If the bill passes, I fear that it will become a choice between draining my family's financial resources, even facing bankruptcy, so that I can continue to access the limited medical treatments I have that helped my condition. That's a gentleman who has to be a migraine. Here's something from a psychologist. He writes, quote, most of my patients, many of them dealing with the experiences of autism, trauma, eating disorders, and/or anxiety, can only receive services because they are covered by health insurance. This disastrous bill could allow insurance companies to deny coverage for mental health diagnoses, making it very difficult for the bulk of my patients to access services. End of quote. Brothers and sisters, what we are talking about here is not just healthcare. We are talking about what kind of country we are and what kind of nation we want to be. At the very deepest level, we are talking about the moral values of this country. And the good news, there is much of a debate on this, and this is one of the reasons why Leader McConnell tried to push this thing through without any hearings. The American people, in poll after poll, indicate they are widely opposed to this legislation. According to the latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, just 16% of the American people believe that this legislation is a good idea. And here's also the important point, and why Republicans, in an unprecedented way, this is extraordinary. When you deal with healthcare, you're obviously dealing with an issue that impacts every person in this room, every person in America. It deals with 1/6 of the economy of the United States of America. You would think that the Republicans would want serious discussion and debate. They would be proud of their bill. They want to bring their bill to the American people and explain what they are doing. I am a member of the Health, Education, and Labor Committee, the committee that deals with this issue. There has not been one hearing on this issue. We have not heard from doctors or patients or hospitals or insurance companies as to what this legislation would do. How can you pass a bill that impacts every American and 1/6 of our economy and not have one hearing? And the reason is, what they want to do is pass this bill with as little discussion as possible so the American people do not know what is in this terrible legislation. Colleagues and Leader McConnell, if you're so proud of this legislation, take it to the floor. Let us debate it. Let us hear whether the American people think it's a great idea to raise premiums for seniors, to throw 23 million people off health insurance, and give huge tax breaks to billionaires. If you're proud of that idea, take it to the American people. Let's debate it. What you should know is those people, those stakeholders, those folks who deal with healthcare every single day, virtually every major organization in this country is vigorously opposed to this Republican bill. He mentioned the AARP, the largest senior group, other senior groups as well. The American Hospital Association opposed. The American Medical Association, conservative group of doctors, opposed to this legislation. The American Cancer Society, the American Heart Association, the American Academy of Family Physicians, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Psychiatric Association, and on and on and on. Those people who understand the problems we have in healthcare today understand that our job is to improve Obamacare, not destroy it. and Ohio knows it maybe better than most states, what has been going on in this country over the last 40 years. And what we have seen, tragically, is a middle class in decline, people working longer hours for low wages, people losing good paying jobs, getting jobs that pay half or two-thirds what their previous job paid. We're seeing 43 million people living in poverty. We're seeing kids leave school $50,000, $100,000 in debt. We're seeing moms not being able to afford child care for their kids. We are seeing in America a situation where while the middle class shrinks, we have the most unequal distribution of income and wealth of any major country on earth. Today in America, if you can believe it, top 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. Today in America, 52% of all new income being generated. You're working 2 or 3 jobs, 52% of all new income is going to the top 1%. In the midst of this moment, when the very rich are getting richer, while the working class is struggling, now is not the time to cut the health care benefits that working people need and give tax breaks. You don't attack the working class and give tax breaks to billionaires when the rich are already doing phenomenally well. Let me conclude by just saying this. A great nation, and I believe we are a great nation, is not judged by the number of billionaires it has, by the number of millionaires it has, by the kind of tax breaks we give to the people on top. A great nation is a nation judged by its compassion. Those who are sick, those who are disabled, those who are old, those who are young, little children. This bill is a moral outrage. This bill is immoral. This bill is not what we as Americans stand for. This bill must be defeated. Thank you all.
If you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and share.